Shabbat Shalom. And yesterday, happy Thanksgiving. No, today's Saturday. Wow, it just blends, you know? And one of our very human flaws is our unfortunate tendency to forget. We forget because we're busy. We are distracted. We're overwhelmed. And we forget how to hold on to gratitude. I want you to hold an image in your mind. You're on an airplane, and the pilot announces, we need to make an emergency landing. So everyone puts on their seatbelts, and you land in some somewhat random state. Maybe it's New Mexico, maybe one of the Dakotas. And you're safe, and it's okay. And for a very brief moment, everyone takes a breath, maybe claps for the pilot who landed you safely in this emergency. Everything is okay. But within moments, there's the scramble. Everyone rushing off of the plane, everyone on their phones calling different airlines, finding their next connecting flight. The lines are getting long to that kiosk where you can book your way to get home or wherever your destination is. And gratitude takes a back seat. It's almost forgotten that that pilot was able to make a safe emergency landing. We forget our blessings. And similarly, I feel this way with Thanksgiving, because many of us sat around a table Thursday night and we may have shared something we're grateful for. But within a mere number of hours, we switch into Black Friday shopping. We're waiting for our Cyber Monday sales, and the gratitude becomes fleeting. Instead of holding on, we move on. We become distracted. So I'm wondering, how do we ground our gratitude? How do we extend it? How do we turn it into commitment? Just like the emergency landing, Jacob this week is fleeing from his perceived emergency of running from his brother. And finally, as he lands to safety, he places a rock beneath his head and he falls asleep. And this next part of the Torah portion, we tend to remember. One of the highlights of the Torah, Jacob's ladder. He sleeps and he has a vision of a ladder where angels or divine beings are going up and down. And that part we tend to remember. But we don't always focus on what did Jacob do immediately after this divine vision to hold on to his gratitude. And I think that from Jacob's ability to remember and hold on to this vision, we too could learn how to extend our own gratitude. When Jacob wakes up, he says two things. First, he says, God was in this place, and I did not know. And then he goes on to say, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the abode of God, and that was the gateway to heaven. And then what does he do? He builds an altar. In Hebrew, a matzeva, a monument. A monument to remind him of his gratitude, that whenever he returns to that place, there will be standing there a commitment to his gratitude. He concretizes it. He gives us a model for building an altar to our gratitude. But how do we build a monument for the source of our blessing? Physical reminders of our gratitude. And I want to give you 3 examples that our tradition gives us of how do we build our own monuments to that which we are grateful. Remember, that word that Jacob uses for building the altar is the matzeva. And when we build a grave for those we have lost, in Hebrew it is called a matzeva, a monument to that person. And whenever we go and visit, we place another stone onto that monument. And my Zaidi always teaches that when you put those stones onto someone's grave when you go to visit, it is because we are continuing to build the monument of memory. That every time that you place another stone, it is because we are not saying that that monument exists and is done, but rather each time it is that we are building and building and building the monument of memory. That's the first example from our tradition, building that monument of gratitude to those we have lost. The second, just like Thanksgiving being a harvest holiday, is Sukkot. We build an immersive experience of gratitude that we stay in for an entire week. And we're reminded day after day throughout that holiday, our own harvest holiday in our tradition, of the gratitude we have for our shelter, for our food, for our stability. And in the harvest time, we might forget, because we're filled with the abundance, we might forget that that is not a given. We forget the source of where that gratitude can come from. And the Sukkah reminds us to refocus and remember the blessings that we have. And finally, I want to give you an example that happens on more of a daily basis. And that is wearing a kippah or a talit or tefillin. Because these are daily reminders of the mitzvot, daily reminders of saying there is one who is greater than I, than the human being, and that I have a way every day to have a physical reminder of my gratitude. So I ask, how can we be like Jacob and concretize our gratitude? And yes, it might be placing a stone on the grave of one we've lost. It might be sitting in a sukkah. It might be wearing a ritual item. But what about the everyday? How might we make gratitude tangible? And one of the things that makes gratitude tangible is a thank you note. Sometimes we have to push each other or our children after B'nai Mitzvah to write these. But I want to read for you something as a closing that Elliot Ackerman wrote in the Free Press this week about a thank you note he had received. He said, "One of the most remarkable letters I ever received arrived after my wife and I hosted some friends for dinner at home. It was a single page of monogrammed stationery with a typed message. Recounted a few favorite moments from the evening, commented on the delicious food and enjoyable company, and closed by hoping we could do it again soon." So my hope as we close this Thanksgiving weekend for myself and for anyone who was hosted for this holiday is to send your host a thank you note. Written thank you note. Not a text or an email, but a physical letter in the mail to say thank you. Thank you for the beautiful time. Thank you for the company, for the food, and for just being joyous together. May we all hold on to moments of gratitude, make them extended, and build monuments of memory. Shabbat Shalom.